It's a beautiful sunny day in Langley Mill, and I'm actually walking up Lower Dunsted Road, and at the top of this steep hill is a house where I used to live. Not all my life, but from about 17 until I got a job in Germany at 25, so 7 years. So let's go and have a look at a house where I used to live. George Street, Langley Mill. And we lived at number 2. There you go. So living in Langley Mill, 27 years ago, my friends and I would do a pub crawl. The Langley Mill quarter mile, shortened to the LMQM. You know, we assumed it was a quarter of a mile. There was a main sort of pub crawl in Derby that was called The Mile, and we called it the Langley Mill quarter mile because it was supposed to be smaller, fewer pubs and crapper. We'd walk a specific way down this hill. We would all march, me, my friends, my sister came sometimes, and we'd march down the hill to the first pub, which was the Horse and Jockey. We'll go and see what the Horse and Jockey looks like today. There's a street around here where for a very brief period I dated a girl, and it was on Ebenezer Street. She was named the Ebenezer Street Mutant Death Squad when my buddy at the time, I don't know, thought it was hilarious. He was into some death metal, and Ebenezer Street Mutant Death Squad seemed pretty appropriate for that woman. First stop, the Horse and Jockey, which doesn't appear to be the Horse and Jockey anymore. With the Horse and Jockey, my dad said, how many of the word and can you get in a sentence so the ands are consecutive? Well, it was a painter for the sign, the Horse and Jockey sign. It was a bit boring, so the owner wanted a little embellishment between each word. And when the owner of the pub was trying to explain this to the painter, he said, I want embellishment between the words, and the painter was like, I don't know what you mean, explain it to me. And he said, I want an embellishment between horse and jockey. Pretty good. Next stop, the Error Wash. Let's see if that one's still a pub. Getting kind of thirsty. This one looks like it might still be here. I don't really have any anecdotes for the Error Wash, or I guess it's called In the Middle now. We used to call it the Ear Wash, you know, to a little bit of a detrimental name. And the only thing I can remember vaguely was being in the men's room and some guy bragging about how he'd punched somebody's or pushed somebody's head into the mirror, and he was a chav. I mean, we didn't have chavs 27 years ago, but the equivalent of. And that was his claim to fame, bursting into the men's room. Oh man, yeah, I smashed somebody's head against that mirror once, yeah. And that's what kind of place it was. In the middle. Once the Error Wash. And opposite the Error Wash is the church where my sister got married. Coming up, on Langley Railway Station. Next on the crawl, this would be, I guess, pint number 3. We're coming up on the Railway Tavern, a place that used to have meat raffles. You could put money into a pot and you could win a big steak or a big lump of ham or a pig's ear or something. Not quite sure what they offered in the meat raffle, but we never partook. We just got some beer. Let's see if that's still there. Totally unchanged. Even that top bedroom window was open. Well, it's not much farther to the next one, which was the mill. I can already see it's entirely different. The mill was a little bit rough around the edges. I mean, they were all rough around the edges, but the mill especially. I remember they had live music. I don't think we ever went on a night when they had loud music, but a band was coming called GTA, and I'd never heard of the acronym GTA before. I thought, oh man, what does that stand for? Grand Theft Auto. I mean, everybody's heard of Grand Theft Auto these days, if not from life itself, but from the video game. So 27 years ago I had no idea what GTA stood for. What a noob. Okay, on now to the Great Northern. By this time we're getting a little bit sozzled, and this one's a little bit sort of off the circular, but a pub on the crawl nonetheless. The Great Northern had pub singers. I don't even know whether they still do pub singers or not, but it would be a bloke with a keyboard and he'd sing pop songs. Kev Jaced was the guy. Nobody's ever heard of him then or since, I assume. And then lo and behold, me and my buddies Skull and Jim, we went to Great Yarmouth, hundreds of miles away. And lo and behold, we went to a pub, and in that pub was Kev Jaced. What are the chances? The next pub is by far my favourite. The Duramax. It was a biker pub off the beaten track. And by this time you're seriously worse for wear. What is this, pint 6 or 5 or whatever? But this pub was one of the greatest on the LMQ. Let's see how it looks today. Well, the Duramax is totally gone. Just a wasteland there now. That was a great pub. There was a guy in there, Reb, sit at the bar, and he once told this story about some wildlife. It was a koi poo, and he was telling everybody, "Oh, I saw a koi poo. I was convinced it was a koi poo. It was definitely a koi poo." Telling everybody in the pub. To this day, I don't know what a koi poo is. And the barmaid there, I used to like her. I thought she was cute, but you know, in the way that the British have crooked teeth, my friend Jim said she could eat an apple through a letterbox. That's how crooked it was. Poor woman. Anyway, it's not there. totally gone. No pints in there. Last on the crawl, what would that be, pint 7, totally drunk by now, is the Charles Napier. And it's this Charles Napier. Not this Charles Napier. This was one of those places that would lock you in, so if you got here just before 11 o'clock when the pub shut back then, you had a chance that they would actually lock the doors and you could drink until whatever hour, until, I don't know, you fell over or you got kicked out. Here we are. Well, this is shut down too. Building's still there, but definitely not a pub anymore. Well, I hope you enjoyed this wander around the lovely streets of Langley Mill, looking at old pubs, some open, some name changed, some gone altogether. But there you go. I didn't have anything to drink at any of the open ones because I'm not with my mates, but you know, I don't think we'd get as drunk as we used to anyway, and then we'd stagger up here. I'm not sure what this road's called, but we'd stagger back, I don't know, maybe go to the Chippy. Sometimes we would go to the Mehran Indian takeout. Get a curry, poppadom and pickle tray, anything to soak up all that booze, and then we'd crash at 2 George Street and do it all again the next day. Lovely. Those were the days.